Lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Going back to Glasgow. Back to Glasgow, KY.
It's time for another edition of Henry's Dashboard Dialogues. We are just glad to be talking with you. We appreciate the positive comments on our podcast. We talk about all things Glasgow, and we talk about important things when it comes to Glasgow. And I am so tickled to have with us for the first time as a guest on the podcast the director of the Department of Public Works, affectionately known as the DPW. And the manager of the Department of Public Works is a gentleman named Jim McGowan. Jim, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing just fine, Harry. How about yourself?
Doing real good. Just enjoying the Christmas holiday season, how things are really looking nice around the community. Let me introduce you. If you haven't met him, Jim is certainly well seasoned in this community. 19 years that you have been working at American Engineers, AEI, and you've been involved in all kinds of projects from start to finish, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And that's the reason why that we're so excited to have you running the Department of Public Works. You've made a difference. You've got some really good people that are working with you down there at DPW.
Yes, we do.
They get the job done.
Yes, we've been working this past week getting trucks ready for the snow season, and we've got a stockpile of salt and ready to go.
Monday this week, we got 4, 5, or 6 snowflakes. When that's enough to say, uh-oh, it might happen. Snow's one of those things, you think about it, it's pretty, but you got to be thinking about how you're going to travel when the time comes. And I know that as the director of the Department of Public Works, you feel confident in where we stand should we have that overnight snow, or that right in the middle of the holidays where we get a big snowfall that maybe it wasn't predicted and it was worse than we thought. Jim, tell us, are we ready to start?
Yes, we are, Henry. Like I said before, this week we've actually been getting trucks ready for snow plows. We've been taking leaf boxes off, getting the salt spreaders on, getting prepared for this season coming up.
2 trucks like that?
Well, we've actually got 3 salt spreaders, and we have a capability of plowing with 4.
So bring it on. That's what you're saying, right? Yes. So what happens is that you've got these trucks that are ready to go. Is it fair to ask you how much salt you have?
200 tons.
Okay, 200 tons. That probably ought to go a pretty good distance.
Yes, yes.
When it comes to dealing with snow and snow removal and the prevention of slick spots, there's a time and an amount and things of that nature. Let's talk about something that everybody's heard of, but I don't know if everybody understands. Brine. When does the street department use brine, and what does it do, and when does it work, Jim?
Once we have an event that's been predicted, we will look at the weather and see if there's actually going to be rain before it, or if it's going to be kind of dry up to it. We typically don't put the brine on if it's calling for rain to start with.
That makes perfect sense. You put the brine on there and it washes off before it gets to do what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
So y'all have to make that decision pretty quick too, don't you?
Yes, we do. At that time, we will get the brine trucks ready, and depending on what these events do, and you know as well as I do, the weather sometimes doesn't cooperate with the forecast that they give.
Right. But everybody's ready to move pretty quickly. When you say, boys, let's get some brine going, y'all can turn that around pretty quick, can't you?
Yes, we can.
And you know that a lot of times that's the first thing that has to happen.
We have 2 trucks set up for salt brine, and we can deploy those rather quickly.
So the snow falls, and we get 3 or 4 inches of snow. So the brine's down. The roads are covered with snow. You guys and girls are ready to get out and deal with the snow removal. So how do you figure out where you're going to go first, Jim?
Well, we've got snow zones set up, zones 1 through 4, and first priority, that would be the routes to and from the first responders.
Okay.
Which includes the police, the fire, the EMS, 911 dispatch, and the hospitals.
Okay.
After that, we go to what we call priority 3. That's our major collector streets for local businesses, factories, and schools.
Go back to each one of those priorities and give me 1 or 2 street names.
Zone number 1, we would start with South Broadway Street and Pin Oak Lane, and we would go at T.J. Sampson Driveway and the ambulance service at East Main Street and Cross Street.
So you've got to get the hospital ready. It can have ambulances come in. and the roadways leading up to the hospital, things of that nature. So that's in priority 1. Give me a couple examples from priority 2.
South Lewis Street and Lena Drive, Happy Valley Road, North Royse to 31 Bypass, Glenview Drive, Homewood Boulevard, and Scotty Drive.
Okay. Priority 3. Give me a couple of those examples.
It's like East College Street and Bunch Avenue, West Cherry Street, Ford Drive.
And if you go all the way down to like priority 4, that you do get to all of them. You don't give up and say, well, we don't have time to do this. You will get there, but you have to do it in the order that you have prioritized, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You guys have a lot to do, don't you?
Yes, we do.
It changes kind of fast, too. In other words, if you're out trying to move snow when it's snowing, the road conditions can worsen for you before you can get to some of them.
Yes, they do. And sometimes before we get all the way through all the priorities from priority 1 through priority 4, which is the residential local streets, sometimes we may have to back up and get priority 1 again before we actually get all the way through the residential. Well, one of the things that the citizens can do to help the Department of Public Works out is that when you see these guys out on the streets and stuff, just give us some room to work, and if at all possible, park your cars off the street. And again, that's if possible. That's our number 1 priority, is get the streets cleaned off, and if the vehicles are off the streets, that would really benefit us.
Puts undue stress on the person who's driving that snow plow or that dump truck too.
Correct.
You've got your first responders like dispatch at 911, the police department, the fire department. I bet they call y'all pretty quick, don't they?
Yes, they do. That we rely on them to relay information to us throughout the night if need be. Like I said, we'll be looking at the weather, and our guys will know ahead of time if we're planning on them actually needing to come in when a major event happens, and we can deploy those as needed.
Of course, you're an engineer, and I'm going to ask an engineering question. Define what is black ice. We all have heard of black ice. We've all experienced black ice. It's scary. What is black ice?
Black ice is a combination of 2 things. That is where the roads have been wet, and it is about the temperature of the freezing point.
Okay.
And at that point, it can change from a wet roadway to a frozen roadway rather quickly.
And the amazing thing is, scientifically speaking, is it becomes invisible. I mean, the road used to look wet, but now it's not wet looking, but it's slick.
Yes.
That's what's really scary to me about black ice. April Russell, who is the city administrator, has worn the Department of Public Works hat 2 different times in her career with the city of Glasgow. But I know no matter what hat you're wearing, April, when the snowfall comes and it's our responsibility to get the streets cleaned up, your adrenaline gets pumping, doesn't it?
Absolutely it does, and so does all the guys. They get ready, and they're pretty excited about it. Sometimes want to see it get up and get the roads back open.
What's the biggest challenge that the street department might have in dealing with snow?
I believe the biggest challenge is fighting the traffic. Is one of the things that we really is a challenge when you see them out there. Give them plenty of room. You never know when I'm going to hit a patch of ice and slide. So make sure you're giving them the room to get their job done. And we get lots of phone calls, and everybody wants their street plowed first. We go through our priority list, and we get there as soon as we can.
Right.
People have to remember that once it gets so cold, nothing is going to help. Not the brine, salt, or anything else we can do. When it freezes, the blades don't help anything. So what we try to do is when it gets below 20 degrees is a lot of times where the problems start. If we can get salt on the roads, on the heavily traveled roads, before the morning comes, the tires that go over the salt will warm it up enough to start making it slush so that they can bring the blade through, start getting some of that up.
What I want is for everybody to go to sleep tonight and realize that the city of Glasgow is very well prepared. Should we have a snow event, we are ahead of the curve, and rest easy with that. And I really appreciate April being here, the city administrator, and Mr. Jim McGowan, who is the director of the Department of Public Works. where all of the snow removal comes from here in the city of Glasgow. And we appreciate you joining us today here on Henry's Dashboard Dialogues. And regardless what kind of snow we get, let's be safe and be respectful of others as we make our way through the bad weather season.
Let it snow.